Meow. Huples cat. So I'm at Queen's Park in College. I'm just going to head a little bit north and go to Women's College Hospital. Toronto's still in a constant state of construction. We've really added to the city since I've been here and before I was here, obviously. And it's always kind of fun. It's 7:15 on a Monday morning and pretty quiet. Transit down on the GO train was pretty much empty. Subway was pretty much empty. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this. If you like this, give me a thumbs up and consider a subscription. So this is kind of a fun monument right by Queen's Park. And it's celebrating, I guess, or remembering people who died in the battlefield of the Northwest in 1885. Now, I'll be honest, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever about this battle, so I'll have to look it up. 1885, the Battle of the Northwest. They did not forget. They did not forget. Oh, I'm afraid I did.
The people of Poundmaker Cree Nation have waited decades for this. Since 1885, they've been fighting to set the record straight. Chief Poundmaker was convicted of treason and imprisoned. It was around the time of Métis leader Louis Riel's second rebellion. A shortage of bison left Poundmaker's people hungry. They needed supplies, wanted treaty promises kept. But it said the Indian agent refused to meet him. Desperate for food, it said that Poundmaker's people looted homes. Canadian forces attacked in what's known as the Battle of Cut Knife. The Cree won, and as the army retreated, Poundmaker, who did not fight, stopped his warriors from pursuing them, preventing a massacre. Instead of being hailed as a hero, he was accused of instigating the violence and convicted of treason. He died a year later.
Hello, Mr. Squirrel. How you doing? This is Ontario's Parliament building, Queen's Park, and Queen's Park Crescent. I've always called it Queen's Park Circle, so it's amazing what you find out when you're actually walking around. Government buildings generally have really nice flower beds, and usually a statue or two of Queen Victoria. God bless you, Mom. You'll notice the high security presence here. There's a little barrier fence to stop you rushing the main entrance. And of course we celebrate war and death like everybody does. So that's the view southbound from Queen's Park, going down towards Lake Ontario. And this is a memorial service that's still going on. Various things, shoes and toys remembering the children who were buried, who've now finally been kind of sort of found and maybe will get looked after.
As Vancouver's civic buildings lower their flags, so do other parts of the country. In Ottawa, Canada's flag atop the Peace Tower flies at half-mast. Parts of Nova Scotia will lower their flags on Monday. Municipal buildings in Greater Toronto already have. Many will stay this way for 215 hours, 1 hour for each of the young lives lost. In Brantford, mourners placed 215 pairs of shoes on the steps of Canada's oldest residential school.
Part of this too was our call to accountability and justice for our missing and our murdered children.
A similar sight outside a Catholic church in Montreal. The community there marching for all Indigenous kids who never returned home. One residential school survivor certain more unmarked graves will be uncovered.
It hit me right inside of me because I knew, I saw graveyards like that, a graveyard like that, you know, and it's like, oh my God, the people.
On the lawn of the Manitoba Legislative Building burns a sacred fire. Former residential school students have come here to share their grief.
They're hurting deep down. You know, the stories that I've heard will make anybody cry.
In Alberta, the tributes continue, with shoes and candles placed outside the legislature. As Canadians coast to coast honor the lives lost, there are growing calls demanding the federal government to create a national day of mourning.
Quite an impactful thing. It is quite stunning that members of the Roman Catholic Church are still active and still living full and happy lives, and are clearly implicated directly, in a lot of cases, in rape and probably murder.
Red paint remains on the doors of Calgary's Grace Presbyterian Church. Its pastor says the church is still not sure how best to respond.
We're even thinking about maybe leaving the paint up for a while, just as a way of not trying to cover this up, but recognizing that we have a place in this story.
Churches across the country have been targeted in a series of vandalism or arson attacks in recent weeks, following the discovery of unmarked graves near residential schools operated by the Catholic Church. On Twitter Thursday, Alberta's premier said the vandalism of churches across Alberta is appalling. This is where hatred based on collective guilt for historic injustices leads us. Let's seek unity, respect, and reconciliation instead.
If this is just a building, it's something that means to everybody in this village.
Rosalind Daniels and her family could feel the heat on their skin as fire destroyed an Anglican church across the street from their home.
Siksika First Nation Chief Ure Crowfoot says he does not condone any destruction of property, but he also understands people are in pain.
There's a lot of emotions going a lot of ways. There's a lot of people that don't know how to feel. Now that these children are literally coming out of the ground, so is the emotional baggage that the survivors put away.
On the Siksika First Nation, RCMP are investigating a series of suspected arsons as well, 2 involving churches and a 3rd involving a series of grass fires believed to be deliberately set on Canada Day. The chief says the land damage was culturally significant, often used in ceremony. And while it's not clear if those fires have any connection to the recent church attacks, it continues to be an emotionally charged time.
There you go. The original Toronto Marathon used to finish here. I think I finished here 6 or 7 times, and they put up tents and stuff, and it's kind of fun. It's an interesting place to actually finish up after running basically the whole length of Toronto.
There's the CN Tower, half marathon stage right now. Well, we started off coming down the main street of Toronto, Yonge Street, and now we've turned off into the leafy suburbs. It's really quiet here. Yeah, pretty nice. There's that CN Tower again.
I don't know if you can see it, but rich people had their heads carved into limestone. No, I don't know if you can see it, but the rich and famous of the day tried to live forever in the building. And I have no idea who they are, nor do I really care.
Now, every day people go up and down these hallways, but I'm told some visitors stay long after they're gone. I'm talking about ghosts. In fact, this building is home to 8 permanent ghosts. Some of them are friendly, others have terrifying stories. I caught up with House Speaker Dave Levac earlier today, and he brought me on a haunted tour.
This part of the building was made from King's College bricks that were brought over. So the stone that was brought over, that used to be an insane asylum. And there are stories of apparitions of very confused, panic, screaming, going between wall to wall.
Inside the walls of Queen's Park lie many secrets, many wandering spirits.
The word is that this Sergeant-at-Arms is still working, and that he's been seen at his desk from time to time.
And then there's the white-clad woman seen on the 3rd floor.
Constantly crying and has some moaning going on, and she'll pull up her dress and throw it over her head and run down the hallway.
Are you spooked yet? Halfway through the tour, I know I was. I asked around about the spirits. It only made things worse for me.
The ghost never talked to me, but I could feel that it was there, so I left very quickly.
It was like there was a party going on in the speaker's office. There was a lot of noise. You could hear voices. You couldn't hear actual words. About 45 minutes later, all was quiet. So when I saw the speaker later, I asked him if he was having some kind of an early breakfast meeting in his office, and he said no, not at all.
And it turns out it's not just politicians who've encountered these ghosts. So we swapped roles here because my cameraman Jamie actually has his own experience with ghosts. Jamie.
I walked into the washroom, and as I was walking into the washroom, all of the taps came on, all 3 of them. They're not motion sensitive taps, and then they turned off. I got scared.
As for House Speaker Levac, he's braver than I am. He's not afraid of these wandering spirits.
It's important for us to share these stories because, quite frankly, the relief is needed for these individuals and providing them with the opportunity to let go.
Once we're gone, we're gone. And even the most famous of humans, over time, people have no idea who they were and don't really care. It's an interesting thing. We all know we're going to die, but we all live like we're not going to. Hopefully it won't be today. Okay, I can read this one better. These 2 cannons were actually stolen at the Battle of Sebastopol, the Crimean. The Allied armies of Great Britain and France took them and they gave them to Queen Victoria, and she didn't know what to do with these 2, so she gave them to Canada. There's loads of these monuments all over the downtown Corey Little Gardens. This one's to prison correctional officers, past and present. In a way, future, I guess. Of course, female occupations didn't really get much of a look in until recent history, so there is actually, as far as I'm aware, no nursing monument in the downtown core. Bear in mind, this is actually called Hospital Row because you have Women's College Hospital, Toronto General Mount Sinai, and a couple of other associated buildings on this particular stretch. There ain't no nursing garden. This is an unmarked modern monument to underground living. It's an exhaust pipe system for the massive underground Toronto that's around. This has been a video from a sleepy terrier and from his little sleeping cat friend, Biscuit. Bye!